This is a Wild Games Production podcast.
Stuff about a lot of nerd stuff that I'm not actually interested in just through osmosis.
Right.
Just like, oh, my friends read comics, so I know a whole bunch about comics.
Yeah, I stopped reading. I read comics as a kid just in random boxes that my dad would bring home from flea markets. And he would buy like, here's 50 comics I bought from flea markets. Who knows what's in there? Here you go, children. And Watchmen was in there. And I was like, I'm 9. I'm going to read Watchmen.
Oh.
Yeah.
Were you ready for it?
No, it was awful. I mean, it was weird. I was like, why?
Anyways, welcome back to the Saber Die Podcast. I'm Crispy.
And I'm Carl.
And we're bringing it back here again with some classic D&D action. Speaking of classic D&D action, good D&D video content is finally becoming a thing. And I think that's really good.
Yes.
And I think it's because as we progress further into like the realm of new media, replacing traditional media, it's becoming, you have to get really competitive with it. So people are upping their game and actually putting in some effort. And
I think some of this has to do with just the ease of gathering information about a subject. Mm-hmm. You know, there was a time when learning to play D&D was only spread through contact with other D&D players. I mean, it was a much harder to get into it on your own.
Yes, I have that experience. Actually, I started playing in 2002, and my first character, I didn't understand the rules. I was adding like my strength score to attack rolls and like having people. Nice. It was awful. It was not.
I never miss.
Not good. Basically, I do how much damage? I kill it. I kill it so hard. Yeah, especially if you're dealing with something like classic or AD&D. Even 3rd edition, which are pretty esoteric rule systems sometimes. It's hard to find out, like, oh, how is this supposed to actually happen? Like, I ran a BX game for Start of a New Campaign last night, and, like, explaining, like, oh, no, armor class lower is better. And, like, you can write down your 2 hit numbers in the matrix underneath, or you can just use like a Thaco system. If they didn't have me there, they would have not understood it, and maybe it would have driven them away because like, oh, this rule is stupid. And just having the perspective of being like, hey guys, like this game came out before, you know, there were really role-playing games as we know them. So a lot of times...
I'm expecting that this game came out before there were ascending numbers. That's all this game is.
Nobody counted up. Yes. Everyone counted down before
this was BC, so we were still...
So these mechanics work off of like traditional game design where you roll like a Monopoly die for it. And that kind of helped ease them into it. And ascending armor classes versus descending armor class, like, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Like, if they don't like descending armor class, I can just go back and reverse engineer the math. But we actually did not fight a single thing in my session last night. We rolled dice maybe 4 or 5 times. There was a reaction roll for the cleric to convince some people to become his followers of his religion. Somebody had to make a strength check, like a strength contest under their ability score roll. Right. And I feel like there was maybe one more roll, but that was it. Like, so a handful of dice. And we played from 7 p.m. until about 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah, we played Basic Expert today. My wife and I, game with some friends of ours. And it's the game where we have Rich the Lich giving them quests. Richard, who's an old Lich. And the quest now was that his great grandson, Rich the Lich, has all of his descendants living with him in his castle. So it has a castle full of generations down of his kindred because he's thousands of years old.
Are
his
they
grandson
all liches as well?
ran away to try to fight goblins on his own. His grandson being, of course, Little Richard. And it was a fun time.
I was not expecting you to say Little Richard. I should have been. Oh, God. It just... I let my guard down and you hurt me real bad, Carl.
Are you enjoying the show you're listening to right now? Want to help support the show? Why not head over to the Patreon site, patreon.com/WGP. That's patreon.com/WGP. And help support the network for as little as $1.50 a month. That's right, $1.50 a month goes a long way. Thank you.
If AD&D is number one, have we got a podcast for you? On the Roll for Initiative podcast, DMs Vince, Nick, and Matt.
Hello, everybody.
And DM Matt.
Hello, everyone.
Check out all things related to the game that Gary built.
This is basically the module trying to get you to fight things when you shouldn't.
Yeah.
They basically taunt you.
They're being playful.
Yeah.
They're being playful.
Yeah.
They feature old and new modules, supplements, musings on rules, advice on DMing a game, and occasionally feature new writers and classic creators of all things 1E.
And think of it this way. Number appearing, 2 to 12. 12 demigods hanging out together?
Yes, but the Green Man has nothing underneath him as a classification. 0.
No.
Nothing.
No.
Just he's God of growth and abundance. We don't need to put down any other classification at all. We'll just give it to the Mudman.
That's the Roll for Initiative podcast. You can find it on iTunes or at rfipodcast.com. So, you like AD&D 2nd Edition but no podcast to listen to?
Guess what?
We got the cure right here.
I got a fever. And the only prescription is
The Thaco's Hammer Podcast.
You want me to put the hammer down?
Join DMs Glenn, Brian, Corey, and Full On Gamer as they discuss, debate, and review the world of 2nd Edition AD.
Yes.
Go here.
Give me a gin.
Yeah, that's DM Corey ordering drinks.
Sorry, girlfriend's getting gin.
Rules, modules, supplements, clones, everything 2E is fair game.
Someone lied to you, and there's an opposed roll, and, oh, they won, so you believe the lie. I know, but I don't, because I, the player, know that they lied to me. But you, the character, have to act like you take the lie.
So listen into a podcast where number 2 is number 1. The Thaco's Hammer Podcast, the best damn 2nd Edition AD&D podcast ever. You'll find it on iTunes or at thacoshammer.info.
So, jumping back in time here and getting a little bit back on topic, talking about how the rules of the game are fairly esoteric, and if you don't have someone there with you to teach you how to play, that kind of does segue pretty well into our topic for this episode, which is the 91 Black Box, the all-new, easy-to-master Dungeons & Dragons.
Yeah, we got an email from DM Kuban, and he says, greetings. He says, thanks for keeping the show alive. Been enjoying the new episodes and perspectives. Thank you very much, DM Kuban. He said, can you guys look at reviewing the 1991 Black Box D&D, as that was how some of us younger DMs started, and it was an interesting introduction to BASIC. Since the show has reviewed all editions, publications of BASIC, sans the Black Box, this would help the completists out there. And I thought that was a great idea.
Yeah, and I was talking about this a little bit before this show. I had no idea that this project existed until we did an episode on it. But I was born 1988, didn't start playing until 2002, so I was, about 14.
I started gaming D&D in 92. I was 10 years old. I was the perfect person to get this box. Like, it would have been just right, but yeah. I didn't get it. I actually we started right with the Rules Cyclopedia.
If this had been around in like 90, and I could have gotten access to it in like 98 or 99 or something like that, I would have loved having this. Just kind of reading it as a product, I think this is maybe the best introductory box set I've seen for a D&D game.
It's very much like Redbox D&D in its presentation, but it handles it on 2 separate tracks. All of the intro dungeon stuff in this box set was on something they called Dragon Cards. And Dragon Cards were based off of these educational reading cards called SRA Cards, which are actually still sold today. You can still get SRA Cards for classroom learning, which took part of a story, and then you read that and answered questions based on that. These Dragon Cards in this box set had part of a dungeon quest, a part of an idea of Dungeons and Dragons, like initiative. And on the back of the card, it would walk you through rolling for initiative.
Oh, okay, yeah.
What that does, unlike the Mincer Red Box, is it makes all of that intro to D&D stuff not in the book. So it makes that book a better reference guide, because my only complaint about Redbox D&D is that the book becomes not that great a reference guide because you have to flip through the choose your own adventure dungeon. This separates the two.
I really love the way that this was presented. However, on the Dragon Cards, a lot of the information for your character classes and things like that, equipment, combat sequence, they're just reprinted. So you're getting it twice, which is not awful. I would use the Dragon Cards, I guess, as player handouts to give to people.
I think that could be a use for them.
Yeah.
If I kind of think the Dragon Cards are both the best thing about this box set and the weakest thing about this box set.
How do you mean for that?
I don't think that you will really be using them a lot during your game, and I think some of the information is presented differently or incorrectly on the Dragon Cards than it is in the book. Like, for example, one thing that kind of raised my ire at this box set, which I think is just a misinterpretation of the rules, is it counts dwarves as not being able to use battle axes. And that, dwarf without his axe, that doesn't make any sense, right? They determine that as a large weapon. So they make it to where dwarfs can't use axes.
I thought I looked for that because you had mentioned that as we were leading up to the show, and I couldn't find it, but I may have just skipped over it. It is a very handy reference. It's if you get just the booklet from here, it's 68 pages. There's no choose your own adventure. There's no sample dungeon in it. It's literally just the rules. And another interesting thing about this box set is, unlike most basic sets, it goes from levels 1 through 5, as opposed to 1 to 3.
Yes. And I just saw that I am wrong.
On the dwarf thing?
On the dwarf thing.
Yeah, I was like, I looked for that. I was like...
I was wrong. I apologize, Troy Denning. My apologies to the author of this box set. Yeah, it's right here. Dwarf. Battle axe, hand axe, crossbow, short bow, dagger, sword. Yeah, I totally glazed over this and just looked at the weapon types and saw the large weapon battle axe and got all angry. I was screaming and cursing.
It's true. It was before the show started. Man, like, we keep it family friendly, but that Carl.
My goodness. Okay, well, never mind. my biggest complaint about the box set is totally gone now. That was it for me. I mean, everything else could have been pristine and perfect, but you take away my dwarf battle axe, I wasn't playing.
One nice thing about this is they do give you little minis. They have little cardboard stand-ups that you can use. These are great. I love that this box set back from 91 thought to give you miniatures.
I think some of that, and I may be reaching here, but I think some of that is in response to the success of Hero Quest.
Okay.
Hero Quest came out in 1989 and was huge success as far as RPG-inspired board games. In that insular market, they were a huge success.
Carl,
and Hero Quest had miniatures and dice and furniture, and it was very much a board gamified basic D&D. You can see TSR emulating Hero Quest in Dragon Strike and Dragon Quest.
Absolutely.
I think maybe in this box set as well, they were looking at the success of that one, present something that looked similar to that.
Yeah, Carl, don't you have like 7 copies of Hero Quest just like hanging out?
I have an unfortunate amount of Hero Quest gaming materials, so it's not good.
It's not good. So I do want to talk a little bit about some rules changes that they made, because this is honestly, I was comparing this to BX throughout most of because that's my preferred version of Classic right now. I didn't see too many differences even from BX to this box set.
Right. This is certainly extrapolated from the Beckme sets, Menser sets, but I know you won't see a lot of differences. Now, there is one major difference, and that is variable weapon damage is core now.
Yes, it is. That's one thing I did notice, and I was like, I think I've talked about this. I don't really like variable weapon dice. I prefer just everything does D6.
I like variable weapon dice, but only with a mechanical difference. So I don't like, I have a mace and I have a sword. Well, my sword does more damage because this rule book says swords are better. And I understand, historically, swords are better. There was a reason swords were the most
the sword
used
is like
weapon.
the dopest killing tool until guns.
I completely understand there's historical reasons to make the sword better, and we have this information that swords were just more used.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to be necessarily constrained by that, and I think there's enough abstraction in the D&D combat system to where we don't really need to push this sword agenda that they are pushing here.
I'm tired of the sword loyalist propaganda.
Yes, exactly, and I've had it up to here with it. That's what I said.
Just more campaigning by Big Sword.
Basically, I like 3 categories of weapons, essentially. I like normal weapons, D6 damage, and then small weapons, D4. And the reason I feel like that's mechanically different is because you can hide a dagger, you can't hide a sword.
Yeah.
You know, there's smaller.
I don't hate that. Like, I would go for that. Like, a two-handed sword is a D6 plus 1 in my home games.
Right. I would make it a D8 just because I think that's a little bit easier.
One thing that stuck out to me was the rules for charisma and retainers. There is no maximum number of retainers based on your charisma score in this box set. Basically, you get retainers until you fill out a party of 4 or 6.
Yeah. I really hate that.
I did not like that. They're like, oh, just like hire retainers until you have, 6 people. And I was like, but what if I want to have 10 people? What if I want to go in the dungeon and steamroll everything?
Yeah, it's almost like it's protecting you from yourself. It's like, you can't handle 7. You couldn't handle 7 PCs at your table. This is the beginner box.
Yeah. I don't know, retainers are such an intrinsic part of classic D&D to me. That's what you do. You go and you negotiate in the keep on the Borderlands with the Mercenary Guild. It just bugs me that you can only, if you have 3 people, you can only have 1 retainer.
I don't like stuff like that attached to arbitrary rules. I can understand your character doesn't have the draw to get a large following. He's not charismatic enough to have a contingent of soldiers being loyal to him. I understand that, but I don't understand the game only goes to 6. That's not it's such an arbitrary ruling.
It really bugged me. I do think that this has kind of a difference of encounter design than other versions of classic D&D do, because if you look at the entry for any creature that requires you to have magical weapons to hit them, it tells the DM not to use those creatures unless the players have magic weapons. So I think this is definitely coming at it from a combat as sport point of view as opposed to combat as war, and I prefer the combat as war. I want them to be able to formulate a really solid plan and engage in the world and try to get the treasure without fighting the things. I would rather not kill my players. I would rather give them every instance that they can to avoid a fight than just roll dice. That's another problem I have with the Choose Your Own Adventure introductory adventure in this. It's a lot of fighting. It's every other page is a fight, and then you find 2 healing potions for you and your companion. Yeah,
everything's just carrying a healing potion around with it, and so you just find buku's amount of healing potions. Which seems, I don't know. It's fine. Who cares?
It's the introductory module, and it's fine. But I don't know. There were a couple things I don't really think that's setting the right tone. Maybe it is. I feel like this is ahead of the curve for where D&D was going.
I don't know that it's necessarily illogical in a world with healing potions that most monster soldiers would be carrying around a healing potion.
Okay. Yeah, sure. No, I disagree with you, because it's weird that every single one of them has a healing potion. They're just guards. They're monstrous guards.
Well, okay, but they're guards to a wizard. I mean, it's a wizard's guard.
Yeah, so where did the wizard get the healing potions?
They certainly
then?
don't use them. And if I were running the game, if they had a healing potion on them, they'd be chugging that thing.
Yeah. Another thing I didn't like, but I may actually adopt, is you can only do one thing per turn. So it's like, I'm going to move. Oh, yeah. That's it. I'm going to attack. That's it. There's no move and attack. Being restricted to just one action, and that includes moving or casting a spell or drinking a potion, I think that also brings its own level of like tactic. You really have to go like, oh, if I move, I might be able to get out of range and then drink my healing potion next turn. But if I attack this guy, I could kill him before he could hurt anyone else.
The one thing about movement this does mention, which I don't know if I may recall seeing this in a D&D book pre-third ed, was the 5-foot step. Was that a thing that was...
I don't recall, but yeah, it does have the 5-foot step.
It talks about the 5-foot step.
Yeah, I think the 5-foot step might be in 2nd edition. Yeah, the 5-foot step. One part of me doesn't like the restriction on moving and attacking, because it's like, yeah, you know, I kind of want to run it more loose. But on the other hand, like I had said earlier, the combat system in this box set reminds me a lot of chess, and it gets, because there's so much limitation on what you can do, I think it becomes a lot more tactical. So it's something I might bring into my game. I'm not sure. Like I said, in this game currently, they have not fought anything yet in our sessions, so we haven't really had to break out those rules. It is missing, as far as I saw, magic item creation rules. Individual initiative is missing from this as well. That's the thing. Like, a lot of these things are sort of like, yeah, this is probably how the game's going to run, but I'm missing just having the ability to do these things.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is really very much focused on moving you over to the Rules Cyclopedia. Mm-hmm. And the Rules Cyclopedia was meant to be an all-inclusive. It wasn't meant to be an expert set where it references you back to a different book.
Yeah, it's the all-inclusive.
So this was almost like a burner product. You buy it to play it and then really never touch it again, where the basic sets, you would reference back to them because they had the rules in there that you needed to play your game.
The Rules Cyclopedia is like, hey, you can use this to learn the game, but that's not really what this project is for. This is just a reference book. And it does, like, even in the book itself, it's like, oh, buy... You know, if you want to learn how to make a character and get these rules for and suggestions, look at these products instead. I do think, I don't know, like, what was $20 in 90s money? I was barely alive.
Here's a good frame of reference. The 2E Brown handbooks. Mm-hmm. Complete Guide to Elves, those were $18.
Oh, this is a great...
So this was not an expensive product.
Yeah, this is a great deal then.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw the price on this, and I think it was partly due to being in a board game market, mm-hmm. So they had to kind of lower the price partly because of that, which is just shows you how much the board game market has changed now. Now that's the expensive stuff.
Yeah. I think overall, like, I do like this product. I think it is probably out of all the different basic sets, I think this is the easiest and, like, simplest way to learn how to play D&D. Even if you don't have the dragon cards, even if you're just reading the actual booklet, I think it does a really great job of introducing you, if you're 8 or 9 years old, to D&D, to the rules themselves. I think they're presented in a great way. Just organizationally, I love that they included the saving throws in with your actual class. That's just, I can't believe it took 10 years for them to do that. Or I guess it would be longer than that. I can't believe it took them like almost 15 years to do that. I don't like how they had talked about experience point, like the bonus to earned XP for prime requisites. It's just written in a weird way, like, even I, as an adult who have played a lot of classic D&D, I was like, what does that mean? Just like objectively, like the fighter's prime requisite is strength.
I don't even understand the logic behind. I don't use prime requisite experience bonus in my games because I've never heard it explained to me in a way that makes sense. It's like, you're really good at fighting, so it's easier to become better at fighting because you're so strong. And it's like, it's actually easier to learn more about something you're not good at, right?
One thing that I found was missing from this is just kind of getting into like really fiddly bits. There was no, at least in the quick reference portion, it doesn't tell you how much a coin weighs. It's in the dragon cards, but in the actual like booklet, I didn't see anything about like 1 coin equals 1/10 of a pound. That is still the conversion. But you have to jump over to the dragon cards to get that info. So this book really is just, it's really just a condensed like basic rule cyclopedia. It's just the rules. That's it.
And it can be its strength too, because this
I
is
definitely think that's
the
great.
size of a Moldvay basic book. I mean, it's a 60-page document that goes to level 5. You could really run D&D for a long while.
Yeah.
With just this one book in your hand. Go all the way up to shooting fireballs out of your fingertips with just this one little document.
Yeah, it's weird that it basically gives you all the info twice. Once on the dragon cards and then once in the actual book. And I think the dragon cards are definitely more in depth, more
Sure, absolutely.
Speaking to you as though you're someone who hasn't played this game.
I think the dragon cards are a really good idea that maybe could have had better execution, in that I almost think they could have gotten away with less dragon cards with more focused information. Like, I don't really think they need to go over the combat round quite as segmented as they do.
Yeah.
Like, they go over missile attacks and hand-to-hand attacks.
Yeah, because every time you introduce a new...
cards with their own separate art.
Yeah. Every time you introduce a new kind of fighting, it gets its own card. Like, how do you incorporate spell casting into combat? And it's like, all right, now we have to run through this thing again. But now someone's acting on the spell segment.
Yeah, I think certainly I might carry with me if the class dragon cards that were just what is a dwarf and what is a fighter, how to make a thief, what is a thief. You know, it's just on one side it kind of tells you what it is and what their powers are, and on the flip side it walks through the process of creating that character and what you have to pick at first level.
Yeah,
and I think having that with me, especially as much as I play with brand new people to gaming, that could be a beneficial thing to have. I don't think I would ever use any other dragon card.
I wish that I did have a copy of this box set. I think it would be something to... I love collecting basic sets. If this was still around, I don't know if it was in 1998 or 99, maybe even 97. I would have.
It was replaced in 94 with a different box.
So, wow, it had a very low... It really was just a burner product. You pay $20, learn to play it, and then you spend, what was it, like $20, $24 was the price of the Rules Cyclopedia, and you got 36 levels in that and weapon mastery tables. Speaking of which, listeners, you may already know this because we did post that on our Facebook page. The Rules Cyclopedia is now print on demand on D&D Classics as well. Carl, do we have anything else to say about this product?
Okay, so here's something that just... So I love BX. BX is great. It's great, right?
I agree. I definitely agree.
But it does have rock baboons and giant shrews, and I'm not a fan. Now I can come up with my own random encounter table, but I do think this has a more, I'll pretentiously say, Holmesian monster chart, where it keeps it more in kind of like what you would expect to see out of D&D, kind of like the very quintessential fantasy monster. Mm-hmm. And you don't see a lot of real wonky entries in the monster list. And I think for a basic product, I like that it has kind of that more, I hate to say grounded, because it's only grounded to me because I've been playing D&D for as long as I have. It's not really any more logical for there to be wights and wraiths and shadows in basic D&D than giant shrews and rock baboons. But
I mean, the Manticore is in this thing, and that's a 9 hit die creature.
Well, I'm fine with that because I don't mind there being larger monsters. So I just don't, there's no cavemen and Neanderthals, that kind of stuff. This stuff that doesn't really land right into the realm of fantasy literature for me personally.
Okay,
you know?
You're going more. I don't even know what version.
It's
Less
the dumbest
John
thing I
Carter
could
of
have
Mars.
said. I was like, "What's the dumbest thing that I could comment about this box set?" And okay, here's what I want to talk about. This is less dumb.
All right.
I want to talk about how this was reviewed, because this was actually really well received and sold really well.
Oh, really? That is true, because I did look up videos on YouTube, and this thing was big in like Portugal apparently, but there were a lot of people. So there's a lot of videos in just like Spanish that I can't understand, talking about this box set, and people like buying eBay copies and being very excited. There's a couple in English, and people really, really liked this set.
I think it just sold fast enough. That's why we got a 94 re-release. And the 94 re-release was a different product, more what you would see from an RPG box set. And by that, I mean the shape of the box. So this, we haven't even talked about this. The 91 box set was a big board game box.
Yeah, it's like a Monopoly box.
Right. And I think, again, this is my own conspiracy theory. I think that some of that has to do with HeroQuest, because HeroQuest is also in one of those big boxes. I actually wanted to dig, because I read some reviews in Dragon Magazine about it, and I was like, well, that's kind of like basically just an advertisement. So I went and found in White Wolf Magazine 34, it got rave reviews in that as well. And there's no reason Darkness should be hawking D&D products. So, I mean, that gives you an idea of how well received this was. 4 out of 5 stars from White Wolf Magazine. The best introductory game for role-playing I have ever seen. I mean, not just D&D, like, this is just as good as it gets.
Well, if White Wolf is saying it's the best introductory RPG product, I'm like, I don't think I can disagree, because that was my statement as well. I think this is the best version of learning D&D, at least classic D&D, that exists.
Yeah, and this was a big time of experimentation for introductory sets for TSR, because at the same time as this came out, we got the First Quest box set, which came with an audio CD that you would play, and it would, gave you basically a radio play of kids playing D&D, and it's all these like 30-year-old men being like, "I'm a little kid and I'm gonna play," not that
Gee
terrible
Willikers,
kid voice.
Mr. Dungeon Master, can I hit him with my axe?
It's great though. I mean, I listen to it with my kids in the car just driving around, because we're just that family.
You guys like have the sing along, but it's just like each of you takes a part in the radio dramatization, and you say the lines in unison with the CD.
And then there's also Dragon Strike at this same time, which had a VHS that you shoved in and got a little D&D movie, which is the finest piece of D&D media ever created, in my opinion.
I wish that the Dragon Strike DM was my dad. I love him. He is the platonic ideal of what a DM should be, in my opinion. Just black turtleneck, hamming it up, but also simultaneously taking it deathly seriously. Now you're working together! God, that guy's the best.
Yeah, so it's interesting to see that this is kind of a traditional product for the time. When they have, CD sets and VHS.
Yeah, if this is
tapes
contemporary with Dragon Strike, it's very interesting that this is just an RPG box set in a board game box.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do we want to cover anything else?
Let's play. Right. Let's do one of these encounters. So the thing is, these dragon cards, they were split by dragon color. There's like a blue dragon cards and green dragon cards. And they would show you some of the rules and then have a mini adventure that was on 2 separate cards. So a 4-page little encounter adventure.
So what do I need on my end of things? Do I need a piece of paper or a character sheet?
Yeah, let me send you a character sheet real quick. We're going to play the first dragon card encounter.
I'm just going to write it on a piece of notebook paper.
Sure. No, I'll send you a character. You want to be an elf, don't you? You want to be an elf. Of course you want to be an elf. Why would I even ask? Okay, so what we should do, Crispy, I think, is we should play Escape from... You know what we haven't even talked about? Holy... How did we miss this? I'm so glad we're playing this because we get to talk about this. Zanzer Tim... That's the bad guy in this. So this has a choose your own adventure game in it, just like the Mensa Red Box, except in this it's Zanzer Tim is the evil wizard, and the beautiful adventurer that you meet is Adele the elf. She's no Alina, but Zanzer Tim, he's no Bargle. I gotta say, Redbox wins on names.
Yeah,
Bargle is just the perfect low-level evil wizard name. I can't imagine one better. But you do get to have the Monty Python reference. You could say there are some that call me Zanzer Tim. You could do that. That'd be fun.
Well, my elf has a 17 constitution. Jeez.
You are the buffest elf.
I'm so buff.
Okay, so I shot you a character, and we're going to play Escape from Zanzer's Dungeon Part 1. Because this game had the dragon cards in it, and at the end of each dragon card pack was a little mini encounter, and I just think it would be fun to just try one out. They're not great, lots of box text, but hopefully this will be fun. See, you Crispy, your elf, who's not going to be named just yet. We don't know this elf's name yet, but you awaken in a musty room. The floor and 3 walls are solid stone, but the 4th wall is of thick iron bars. You're in jail. I want you to just pick a name. Just pick a name for your character, because here's the way this card presents it, which I think is terrible. I give you a list of names. Hey, you can either be Barab, Karak, Dint, Fura, Hector, Jayla, Nuggin, or Pike. Those are your choices. You have to be one of those names, or you can't play. You're out of D&D. We kick you out.
So should I come up with a name? Because I did read the dragon card earlier.
And this is the other thing, this dragon card, which is just totally bizarre to me. You pick your name, and you go, okay, I'll be Nuggin. Well, I'll say, well, then you're the green grocer's son. That's who Nuggin is. There's a list of their jobs. If you're Barab, you are the swordsmith's apprentice. If you were Jayla, well, you're a dancing girl. That's who you got to be. It's so bizarre, man. Is it weird?
It is a little weird, man.
But just pick a name, because I sent you an elf. You're an elf.
I want to do a stupid elf name
That's all right. That's all right. Let's get real stupid. It's okay.
Carl Legolas.
Carl Legolas. You're Carl Legolas. Carl Legolas.
Yeah.
Carl Legolas. All right. So you're Carl Legolas the elf, and you are in jail. According to this box text here, the last thing you remember is being hit on the head by a couple of ruffians. So this is for like a group of 4. So like they all remember being hit on the head by a couple of ruffians and waking up in jail. It's going to distract me. I'm going to put some fold out counters in some imaginary squares on an imaginary board that we have. But there's a hairy whip carrying monster. And he enters the hallway in front of the jail. Behind it follows a brawny man with bound hands. The monster stops in front of your cell, then says, "I'm wise to your tricks, prisoners. Lie face down on the floor. Don't try anything or I'll bash you good." That's what he says. So he's threatening Carl Legolas with a good old bashing unless he lies face down on the floor. What are you going to do? What are you going to do there, Carl Legolas? What are you going to do to this big hairy monster?
I know, because I played the Choose Your Own Adventure in the original Dragon cards that he is wise, and he'll just knock me out. So I'm just going to... Maybe that's metagame knowledge, Maybe I've played this adventure before, but I am going to lay down on the floor. That's the thing. I didn't read the actual adventure where you get to play through as a group.
Yeah, this is just repeated as the steps from the dragon card.
So I don't know, if I were to lay down face down on the floor, and then cast my ventriloquism spell, and be like, "Oh, hey, guard, there's a riot breaking. We need you to come immediately."
See, that's a brilliant plan.
I know, but I don't know if that'll mess up everything.
Here's the thing. According to the adventure cards, no. Nothing you do will change the outcome.
Yeah,
in this role playing game, you are railroaded right along because he's gonna. If you refuse to lie down, he's gonna whip you. If you jump up and rush the door, he's gonna slam it and lock it.
By Tracy Hickman.
Fake fight with illness. He's gonna ignore it. And if he goes on to say, if the PCs try something not listed, make up George's response. Remember, he is ready for whatever the PCs try and will not allow them to escape. As a last resort, George will summon 12 guards to train their crossbows on the prisoners while he puts Axel in the cell.
I guess I have to lay down on the floor.
Yeah, that's what you want in a D&D game is being completely dictated in your actions. Listen, here's the thing. If you are in jail, you're a prisoner, you probably can't cast a spell right now. You don't have any of your materials. You don't have any. They knocked you out. They dragged you into the jail cell. They probably didn't leave you with all your stuff.
Then I will lay down on the ground. I will, of my own free will, make this choice that has spontaneously come to me to lay down on the ground, face down.
I'll lay down, but I want you to know I'm doing it.
Yeah, it's my idea.
So this guy, he dragged George is the name of. You don't know that because he doesn't come in and be like, "Hi, I'm George," but it keeps talking to him out as George, so I want to call him George. Which is not a great name for a monster. No. George, he's the Jerry of monsters. It's not great. But he brings in this guy, this brawny man with bound hands, and he's got like long red hair and a tiny stupid vest.
Does he look like the kind of guy who likes to play dice games?
He looks like the kind of guy that's a front man for an 80s band. He says, "My name's Axel."
I introduced myself as Slash.
You should have been Slash. You've lost it.
You've
lost that chance. You're Carl Legolas. You committed. But he's this, which I Googled Axel because I was like, that seems like a very modern name. It isn't. No. Not at all. No, it's like it's super in theme with Dungeons and Dragons. It's an old Germanic Norwegian name. No reason not to be Axel in D&D. Huh. It's not really spelled like this, but that's all right. This is Axel Rose, the Norwegian, Scandinavian, burly, brawny man. He says, "My name's Axel. Untie my hands, will ya?" And again, whether or not they untie Axel, the PC may ask their new cellmate questions. So what do you want to do? You want to untie him? Do you want to ask him questions? How do you want to deal with Axel here?
Is George still there, or did George leave?
Let's say he left, and if I'm wrong later, I'll be like, "Oops."
I will. Oh man, what do I want to ask him? I'm gonna ask him. I shouldn't have read the Choose Your Own Adventure introductory module myself because I just want to do what's in there.
What would your question be? Just don't worry about don't worry about that. Just what would you just got knocked out. You're in a jail cell. Big hairy monster brings in this other guy. What would you ask him?
I'm gonna ask him where we are.
I'm not gonna tell you anything unless you can you give me 2 gold coins? All this knowledge in my brain, it's worth some money, I think. Now it says none of the PCs have money. They took your money.
I would tell him I would gladly pay you for that information, but I left my wallet and my other tunic back in my treetop village. I'm a little strapped right now, but if you just tell me now, I will pay you.
That's a good idea. What if we do this? If you don't have any money now, I'll tell you what. What if you win information from me? Because I have this set of dice here, you see. But I tell you, what was your name again? What was your name?
Carl Legolas.
Carl Legolas. My name's Axel. I said that earlier in the box text above.
Carl.
But if I got 5 dice here, or there's 6 or so, or some number of dice. But I'm gonna take this big round one here, the largest one. I'm gonna roll that one. And you can pick any of the other dice. Now, do you think this is fair?
Here's the question, Carl. His hands are bound, right?
Yeah, right now you've not untied him. So
my
I don't know what
hands
he's doing.
are not bound. Couldn't I just beat him up?
There's literally no reason not to. He's the worst.
He's the worst, actually.
Worst. He's just the worst. Like there's no so he thinks you're so dumb that you don't understand that dice with more sides are better at rolling larger numbers than dice with fewer sides. He's trying to trick you. And you know what? He doesn't got a lot of information.
Yeah. I'm going to say that I also choose the large round one but I'm gonna roll it twice.
Well, the problem is he's only got one large round. So if he picks it, you got to pick a different one.
I can't.
In
also,
this conceit
we can't share dice
of a scenario. No, I mean, come on. Have you ever been at a gaming table and tried to share dice with somebody? They didn't like it.
I know. I then try to explain him the myth of the probability well and how it is a flawed conception. I was like,
I'm gonna say
on the
Axel
cosmic
doesn't
scale,
understand that at all.
Axel, look, there's no well of 20s that you're drawing from. If it just rolls random numbers, there's no mojo. Does that convince him to also let me?
This is what happens. His face just lights up in enlightenment, as if numbers have just started to make sense to him. And he goes, "Oh, okay. Well, let me just tell you all this stuff, so we don't have to roll a bunch of dice together, because that's not going to be fun to listen to." He says, 1, we're in a dungeon. 2, we're in a wizard's dungeon. See, this is how stingy he is. He was going to make you roll for each of these little tidbits. 1, you clearly know you're in a dungeon. Okay, so now you know it's a wizard's dungeon. That's the second one.
I don't know, which would be that it's a wizard's dungeon.
Now, here's the other thing. That wizard's name, Zanzer Tim. That's what he tells you. That's the third bit of information he was going to make you roll a bunch of dice to learn. In what I would say would probably be the least fun game of D&D ever played. And he says the wizard often kidnaps people and buys prisoners. And the last bit of information, it's so they can work in his salt mines. Because he's Boss Hogg. The wizard is a villain from a 1970s detective show. Zanzer Tim. He wears a white suit and hat, and he sends you to the salt mines. There we go. That's what you learn from Axel.
Right.
And then he says, this is what he says. You guys don't look very strong, Axel says. This text is not boxed, but I think I'm supposed to read it to you. You're not very smart either. So I'll be the boss of this cell.
I don't think so. I think that we should democratically elect the boss of this cell. And
he says, I'm going to democratically pound challengers into the floor.
I'm going to punch
before we can start actually murdering Axel, George walks back in, Georgie the hobgoblin, and he enters the hallway carrying a basket of bread. And he has 10 small loaves, which is really too much. It's a lot of bread. But he brings you a giant basket of bread, and he says, enjoy your meal, he chuckles. It will be your last for a while.
I try to explain to George. Excuse me, George. I understand that.
George leaves immediately.
George, wait. I'm trying to. George, please.
His face is out of existence.
This will help productivity.
This is like the scene in the 10 Commandments where he feeds them all the grain, and now you guys are gonna build some pyramids, man. It's gonna be great.
I mean, like, if they regularly fed us, we would have more energy to work for longer.
We have 10 loaves of bread. Should we space these out over many meals? No. So anyway, at this point, you're supposed to choose how to deal with Axel, because this is what Axel does. He says, "Stay away from my bread."
Well, it's certainly not your bread.
What's all 10 loaves for himself, which is excessive at best.
I call him
I'm a large man. If I saw someone eat 10 loaves of bread, I would just clap. I would clap, slow clap. I would try to get everybody involved, because
how do I strangle Axel to death?
Well, here's the thing: you actually get the choice at this point.
Oh,
so do you want to try to fight Axel, trick Axel? You could persuade him, grab him. You can do whatever you want.
I'm pretty charismatic. I'm gonna try to persuade him.
All right. Well, persuade is apparently a wisdom-based action in this rule set.
That's weird, but okay.
That doesn't make a lot of sense. Ask would be the charisma one. If you ask him for a loaf of bread, but persuade is wisdom-based, which,
Yeah, that's a little weird.
Well, we're gonna say you use your charisma because you're so charismatic.
Yeah,
and if your charisma is 12 or more, he's gonna give you 1 loaf of bread out of his 10.
Oh. What about my 3 unnamed buddies?
That's true. You have to have 3 followers with you, because to get you to a party of 4 per these rules.
I'm gonna try to persuade him again and be like, "Hey, there's 5 of us in total. I think the intentions of Zanzibar Tem was that we each get 2 loaves.
That's why he has all the bread.
I mean, like, democratically, we should split these loaves evenly. You didn't do anything to, like, earn these loaves.
Okay, well, he starts screaming. That's what he does. He says, I can't keep all the bread. It's my bread. And George just bursts into the room. And he says, what's all racket? Demands George. The hobgoblin steps into the hall. He's a hobgoblin. That's new information that it didn't give us before.
Huh.
But it's the box text I'm reading to you now.
Wait,
settle down or I'll knock you senseless. Your threats don't scare us, George, says Axel. We'll die in the mines anyway.
Oh, that's bad news.
That's a terrible thing to say. But anyway, George glares at Axel with a menacing stare. And he says, have it your way. If you're all so anxious to see the salt mines, then you'll go as soon as I get back with your shackles.
Oh.
Yeah. This is very, this is what this card says. George ignores any protest from the PCs and leaves.
That was going to be my thing. I was like, George, I believe that I am completely fine with waiting until morning.
I have no affiliation with Axel.
The salt mines. This bread obsessed maniac is the only one who's shouting and making a ruckus. I and my 4 unnamed mute compatriots.
Well, three, to be clear, right? I mean, it's 4 total,
We're
right?
fine. We're on this side of the cell. All the commotion's coming from Axel's side. I mean, if you're going to punish anyone, it should probably be Axel.
Well, Axel doesn't like that, and George mysteriously is gone. But he says, now you've done it. If we don't figure out how to escape, we're all goners.
Now I've done it.
Yes, it's your fault. Try to steal my bread. Axel's not a cool dude.
Axel's
I'm afraid
not a
to
cool
say.
dude. You know, you headline one major 80s power rock band and you think you get all the bread.
You know, honestly, from all reports,
he kind of really is.
Axel really isn't that great dude.
Yeah. He's still tied up, right?
Yeah, I mean, apparently, I don't know how. There's nothing in here that says he's able to untie himself. So unless you're just nice enough to do it for him, I don't even know how he's grabbing all this bread. Could you grab 10 loaves of bread with tied up hands?
I'm just gonna take the bread from him.
This is a circus.
I'm gonna take the bread. I'm gonna lick each one.
That's fair. And
then I'm not gonna eat any of it, but I definitely lick them all over, and I'm gonna go try the door.
Well, it says we gotta come up with an escape plan. Says Axel, quit licking the bread. We gotta think about how to get out of here.
I lick the bread faster, you know, and then I'm like, okay, well, when he comes in, you keep being, unreasonable, and
I have no idea what you're talking about.
And then I'll stoop behind him, and you can push him over.
You might have to untie me first.
I don't think I want to do that. You can push with your hands tied.
Okay, so you're gonna do like this is like a Dennis the Menace type.
Yeah, like a
move.
Three Stooges.
Yeah, so
like
you're just gonna wait.
Comedy bit.
He's gonna come get Axel because he's acting all belligerent, and you're just gonna get down on all fours and he's push him over you.
Mm-hmm. And I tell Axel once we have dealt with the hobgoblin, because I don't think I know his name is George, then I'll untie him.
He has a name tag. He has a name tag. You know, it says, "Hi, my name is George," and then on the back it says, "Call this number with any complaints." But anyway, so yeah, George returns with several assistants. Oh no, a hole in the plan.
Well,
stand back, he gruffly orders. He takes the key and puts it in the keyhole. So you might have to change your plan. What are you going to do? You can't talk about it. What are you going to do?
I think when he opens the door and they all come in, I'm going to yell for everyone to rush him.
Okay.
Just rush everyone.
Rush. Just rush. All right. Well, you can rush them, and we're going to roll a surprise check for old Georgie boy. Because he can be surprised in this situation. He's not really expecting a fight for whatever reason. I don't know why he would be, but it says I'm supposed to roll a surprise for him. So we're going to roll a D6 on a roll of 1 or 2. You're going to get a whole free round. And I rolled a 2. Look at that.
Yes.
You got a whole free round of attacking this guy with you and your invisible compatriots and Axel.
Yeah. So I'm guessing I shout, rush him. And
you rush, man.
we can only move. That's the constraint of this version. We can only move.
I imagine if you're waiting for prime rushing potential, we're going to say that's within a 5-foot step, something that's also in this edition. Look at that.
So
we're finding a way. We're life.
I'm going to 5-foot step and try to steal his weapon.
Let's just do an opposed roll.
Okay, D20?
I'm going to roll a D20, and you're going to roll a D20. I want you to tell me what you roll.
Ooh.
I rolled a 6. You're probably going to beat that.
No.
Oh, he's got his weapon still.
I rolled a 1.
That is a poor roll.
It is.
Well, then your compatriots, they all jump on the other guy, so we're not going to worry about them. It's just you and George.
All right. Hand to hand.
You're invisible. Invisible carriers are taking, and Axel. You, George, and Axel.
All
right. But Axel gets a free thing, so he's gonna take his tied up hands and he's gonna bring them down on the goblin.
Oh,
he actually hits him. He actually hits him, but he's only gonna do 1d4 damage, right? I mean, he's got a tied up hands. Unarmed combat in this rule set with variable weapon damage does 1d4. So
that's weird because I think the gauntlets of ogre strength make it so you do 1d4.
Well, that is unfortunate for ogres. I mean, I could be reading that wrong.
It's fine. You're the DM.
Yeah, who cares? None of that matters. He does 1 point of damage.
Oh, way to go, Axel. See that?
Only to untied my hands. Anyway, so what's going to happen now is we're going to roll initiative.
Oh, snap.
Because that was a surprise round.
I got a 2.
I got a 2. Now, I don't know what the rules are in this, but I always let ties go to the players because I don't like rolling dice a whole bunch of times.
Yes, same boat. I can say for the listeners at home that ties, everyone acts at the same time, which is just a lot of
that's
chaos.
right. That's right. It's pretty weird.
I guess if I'm doing a D4 with unarmed combat, I'm also going to try to punch him.
All right. Punch him away.
I hit AC 2?
Well, he's not AC2. He's not a very well-equipped hobgoblin.
I also do 1 damage.
Well, surprise, surprise, he's still up. He's still up.
Yeah.
But you know what? Per the rules that we don't have yet, he has to make a morale save.
Oh, really?
If you understand what that means. Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of hit points. He is the worst hobgoblin. Oh, Axel falls on his butt, man. Axel doesn't do nothing to this goblin. His bread-addled mind is taking his toll.
I'm firing Axel from the band.
Yeah, I don't blame you. He's hard to work with. Well, this guy wells on you a bit. George
is
going to hit you with his billy club, doing 3 points of damage.
Ooh, okay. I have 1 HP left.
That's right. You're still in the game, man.
Yeah.
And we roll initiative again, don't we?
Yeah. Oh, I have 4 HP. That means I rolled a 2 on my hit die. Because I have a con of 17.
That's unfortunate.
I got a 6 for initiative.
He got a 1. He got a 1. So you got initiative.
I'm going to punch him again.
That's the only choice in this scenario they've concocted for introductory to D&D.
I rolled a natural 20.
Well, there you go. You get 2d4.
That is 2 damage.
Well, as it would fate would have it, George can only take 4 points of damage. And his goblin companions have been beaten up by your invisible ethereal companions. So, you've won this encounter.
Yeah.
And freed yourself from prison. Final Fantasy music, end of battle theme, go now.
I am actually going to edit that in there.
Do it.
Huh, well, phew. I would have died if I didn't knock him out. I'm going to search his body, just because I know how this box set works.
That's a billy club that does 1d4 points of damage.
Oh, my fist is just as good.
Yeah, it doesn't make. I may have done that wrong though.
That's fine. And then, does he have any vials of yellow liquid?
Oh, he has got so many vials. Everybody in this whole room, goblin and hobgoblin alike, has a vial of yellow amber. I mean, amber liquid. Let's get our terminology correct.
Drink the vial of amber liquid.
Actually, it says in the rules, if George and the goblins are knocked unconscious, Axel finds 1 magical healing potion for himself and for each PC in George's pocket. He has, in concept, 5 vials of potion just sitting in his pocket.
Man, OSHA must have a field day when they come and do surprise inspections at this wizard's tower.
You got contaminants all over the place.
Just the occupational hazards that require all guards to have multiple healing potions on them at all times. That's crazy.
Like, it's got to be a pretty dangerous occupation. I mean, it's 100% likely to be stabbed in the face by an adventurer.
That's true.
That is
true.
The only retirement plan is stabbed in the face by someone who kicked open your door.
Oh, jeez. So we're healed up.
You're healed up. I mean, like, it doesn't even say like they do die of healing or anything like that. It's just like
you're healed up. It tells you to erase all the damage.
Where we go from here on this dragon card, you go into the next room and there's a goblin.
Mm-hmm.
As you open the door to the next room, a frightened shriek sounds from inside. And we make another surprise roll. If the goblin gets surprised, he just runs away.
Huh.
If he doesn't get surprised, then it says he has to fight. Like, there's no other, parts were a good idea, but I feel like this execution is very, like, I almost feel like the Choose Your Own Adventure in Mincer was very much more, it felt more like a D&D game might go because it kept it more vague. You know, it didn't really have a lot of like, this is what the goblin says, or it just says you succeed or fail, you win or lose, you fight or flee. And it didn't have a much full stops. Like, there's a full stop on every one of these cards where like you die and now you're a new character and you see in the next room it's unnecessary information if they had just made it work a little bit differently. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I can definitely understand that. Like, there's a lot of instances where you can just choose the wrong option in the Choose Your Own Adventure version and die. You're dead.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and that's traditional with the books, but it's not necessarily the best way to teach someone a game.
Yeah. Or they start you over, you just wake up back in your cell.
Yeah. So anyway, it's after the adventure. It says, congratulations, you have escaped from your cell and completed the first part of your first Dungeons & Dragons game adventure. Unfortunately, it's time to pack up the dice for today, but the next time we play, you will choose a class for your character. You could be a fighter, a cleric. When we already did.
Mm-hmm.
You're an elf. You're Carl Legolas. And until then, don't worry about your characters. They'll be safe where they are, waiting for you to come back and play. Isn't that just delightful? It's a little creepy. It's a little
Toy Story.
It's very. This is the inspiration for Toy Story. Toy Story would never been made.
Yeah,
unless
just a couple years later, Toy Story came out. I think John
Lasseter
owes Wizards some money. All right. I guess we can wrap this up. Carl, would you recommend this product?
Honestly, I really want to own this, and it's not necessarily just because I'm dying to play Black Box Basic D&D. Even though I think the book by itself is a good reference to have if you play Mincer Basic, just because it's so light and you could really have it really easily with you all the time. But it's just such an interesting basic set because there's not another complete basic RPG. Like, there's board game versions of D&D that are similar to this, but there's not really another basic set that comes with everything this does. And the dragon cards are really unique. And it comes with a basic D&D Game Master screen, Dungeon Master screen, which was kind of a rare thing to get. And it's a kind of a weird Game Master screen because it doesn't have a front. It's all information all around. There's no picture on it. So that's kind of an unusual element too. So it's like a giant reference guide, but the dragon cards actually fit inside it.
Oh.
I think I would have a little bit of nostalgia for this product just because I owned so many similar products to it, like those little cardboard standee figures. I had so many D&D products that had those in the early 90s. So I would love to own it. Yeah. But if someone was really brand spanking new to the concepts of D&D, had never played an RPG before, I'd still think this is a fine product to get them.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I would definitely recommend this. I want to own it just because it is a big board game box that has the D&D logo on it. It's also just a very clean, like, graphic design. It just has a big red dragon on it. But this is great to have if you're introducing new people into classic D&D, because it's written in such a way that it's addressed in very simple language, very plain language. Even addresses descending AC, where it's like, most things you add your bonus to stuff. Your AC lower is better, so you subtract the bonus and add the penalty. This is the only thing that really works this way. Don't worry about it. You'll get the hang of it. Like, I loved seeing that. That was great. I guess the last things up is we do have an email that was we just got this today, right?
I just saw it today.
Okay.
That means something.
Yeah. So just kind of jumping in here. It's just a quick question from a listener here. This comes from James Lemon. He says, "Hi guys, love the work you do. My question is, how do you work out the movement of inches into actual distance? For instance, it says a speed of 12 inches and 1 inch equals 10 feet of movement per minute, and one combat round is 10 segments of 6 seconds. Does that mean I can only move 12 feet on my combat turn? Sorry for being confusing. If of any help, I come from a 3.5 background, so I'm new to distances being listed in inches." James Lemon. So the combat round, 10 segments of 6 seconds, I'm not sure. That sounds like an AD&D thing. Combat round is just 10 seconds in classic D&D, except I think maybe in OD&D it might be a minute. Holmes also might be a minute, I'm not sure. It's hard to keep track of some of this stuff.
Well, that would be 10 segments of 6 seconds. So,
yeah. So it's a little weird, but you would just basically look at my movement speed is 120 feet in a 10-minute turn, and then for combat, because you're hustling, you just divide that by 3. So if you have a move speed of 120 feet, it becomes 40 feet. If it's 90, it's 30. Super simple. Most encumbered characters who are wearing armor and carrying gear, you're probably going to have a movement speed of 90 anyways. So it's basically the same from 3rd edition.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things where it's just kind of a decoding thing more than it is a complication thing. A lot of the stuff in OD&D seems complicated when really once you decode the language around it, it's a very simple system.
Yeah. So 12 inches would be 120 feet because 1 inch is 10 feet. Just divide that by 3. So you could even maybe do it if you could just do it on actual inches. So divided by 3, you can move 4 inches with a cloth tape measure, and there you go. That's it. That's all you have to do. I hope that clears it up. Basically just divide by 3. It's a super simple thing. Again, you can always ask us questions at saveordie.info. What is our actual email address?
No, you had it. You had it perfectly.
All right, questions at saveordie.info is our email. You can find us on Twitter. We're pretty active on Facebook. I just posted some photos of I made a DM screen for Moldve Basic because I don't have one. That's up there. And I think that's it for now. Yeah.
Thank you for listening, everybody.
Yeah, definitely that one. Yes.
This one was weird.
This one was weird. We've, there's been a little bit of a hiatus. People have been busy doing stuff, but keep it original, keep it old. Oh, wait, no, can't say that. That's the wrong show.
Keep it classic, eat a Vlasic. That's what I always say.
That is the new tagline of the show.
I'm fine with that.
Keep it classic, eat a Vlasic, and good night, everyone.
Good night.
Well, let me tell you something, brother. The Save or Die Podcast Immortal Edition is a production of Wild Games Productions, brother. It is produced for entertainment purposes only, Jack. All other uses are prohibited, dude. So be sure to visit them at saveordie.info for more information, brother. What you gonna do when the Save or Die Podcast runs wild on you? Ooh.